welcome back to another episode of Sake Drinker and Friends, filming at Momo-san Bar, downtown Napa, in a warm and rather warm day here in Napa Valley. We're very excited to have a few friends. First, I'll introduce the panel. Since they're joining us, we have Ashley Kent with Copper Cane Provisions, pretty exciting lineup. Bruno joined us from Beverager, which is a new system to use with inventories and tracking and whatnot. You should look it up. And we have somebody that's a familiar face, Laura Coffer from Bottega Restaurant, and yeah, preparing for her advanced exam in a couple of weeks, coming quick. And then we have other fellow friends. Alex is here joining us, just hanging out. Thanks for joining, first time on the show. And then we have somebody that has more experience than probably most of us combined in the sake world. Here we have Jesse Pugash, all the way straight from Southern Wine and Spirits.
Thank you. Great to be here. We've talked about doing this for a while, and it's nice to finally be here with you.
Absolutely. It's been like a year coming or so.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, Jesse, thanks for joining us all the way from your busy schedule, travel in the world, educating. How'd you get into the sake world, and where'd you beginning?
So my beginnings with sake started, that's my 12th year in sake, and I actually got into it through bartending. Moved to the Bay Area in 2004 and got a job bartending at Ozumo restaurant in San Francisco. And for those, I'm sure most of you guys know Ozumo, but for anyone that doesn't, back in the early 2000s, mid 2000s, Ozumo was kind of it for the high-end, luxury Japanese dining experience, high-end sake, things like that. Before Morimoto and Pabu and all the places that we have now, Ozumo was it. And got a job bartending there, and after kind of getting into the sake a little bit, and ended up running the program there for 3 years. And it's one of those things where I think a lot of people in this business have that epiphany where they just sort of fall in love with sake. That didn't really happen for me. I kind of just woke up one day and I said, I'm a sake guy. And did that for 3 years, went to go work for an importer based in Oakland for about 3 or 4 years, and then this is now my 5th year as the sake specialist for Southern Wine.
Wow.
So I manage our domestic sake portfolio, import portfolio, and yeah, it's awesome. I can't imagine doing anything else. So it's a lot of fun.
Well, that's a great story. That's inspiring. Yeah, Ozumo has been around forever and definitely an institution, as far as you mentioned. If you haven't gone, they have two, right? Oakland and San Francisco?
They have one in Santa Monica, I think that closed, and they have a couple other concepts. But yeah, in the Bay Area, it's
nice.
Oakland and San Francisco.
Pretty cool. The more sake around, the better.
Yep.
And tagging from that, I mean, you have a very exciting portfolio with Southern. Some stuff that's really off the wall. I mean, we've tasted several styles during the show in this almost 2 years of show. We tasted sake, we tasted a lot of cleaner junmai ginjos, dai ginjos, and whatnot. But today we're going to focus on off the wall stuff. Some sakes that we tasted about a month ago.
Yep.
And it's definitely enough to rock your world. And I know, like, for instance, Ashley, she just tasted sake for the first time about a week ago. Laura, a few times you get in there. Bruno, I imagine in your career you've tasted a bunch of sake and other fun beverages.
Japanese food, sake is the #1 beverage.
Well, these will be good without Japanese, with mainstream food too. So that's
Totally.
yeah.
So without further ado, and I know time is ticking, so let's talk about what you brought today.
Sure.
And pass around some glasses.
Awesome. So as you mentioned, what we're going to be doing today is something a little bit more off the wall. A lot of what we sell and what a lot of other distributors sell is, kind of mainstream junmai ginjo, dai ginjo, things like that. This particular importer is called Floating World. They're based out of New Mexico. Two ladies named Deb and Linda started this company about 7 years ago. I met them about 2 years ago, fell in love with their sakes. They are very eclectic. They specialize in Nama sake, so unpasteurized, and mostly Maroka Nama Genshu, so not charcoal filtered, not pasteurized, non-diluted sake. So it's basically, I guess the equivalent in the wine world would be natural wine, but they're really kind of funky, off the wall, and really good. So
It's a great way to start. So you were telling me about this operation they have in New Mexico, and they have a whole business around it, right? So they're importing sake. They have a spa.
They do. They have a spa. It's all kind of based around a traditional Japanese style onsen ryokan, like a hot spring. And it's called 10,000 Waves. So if any of you guys are down in Santa Fe, I highly suggest you check it out. I don't know how many we need here. Got about 8.
I think 10.
Cool. And basically, they have set up a traditional hot spring and inn, and attached to that they have a spa and they have an izakaya, and you can go and have just an unbelievable traditional Japanese ryokan experience. It's incredible. And they started importing sake to kind of go along with the izakaya and the sort of theme that they're doing there. And they really wanted to specialize in things that not a lot of people are doing. And I think with this sort of Moroccan Namagenshu style, it really fits what they like to do.
Awesome.
So the first one we're doing is called Akishika. And Akishika is located kind of between Kyoto and Osaka in central Japan. And here, we'll taste a little bit. So typically with Moroccan Namagenshu, you get a lot more aroma, you get a lot more acidity, more umami. This is called Okadakuchi Super Dry. So in terms of the dryness scale of sake, I mean, a lot of people get into SMV and things like that. It is off the charts dry. It's a plus 16, but with a high acidity and a lot of high amino acid.
That's full flavor. That has the full bang into it. Definitely not for the novice sake drinker.
Yep.
But it's amazing.
Yep.
And as you mentioned, go real quick between Nama and pasteurized. There's a 2-time pasteurization, right?
Typically, sake is pasteurized twice, and I think with a lot of sakes, as people kind of get into sake, they get into the milling, the grades, and things like that. And a lot of people know, Junmai or Ginjo, Daiginjo, but what happens to the sake after milling and after brewing is where a lot of the other cool styles like Nama can come in. So after they've pressed the sake, they'll usually pasteurize it twice, they'll charcoal filter it, they'll dilute it to balance it out. But with this style of sake, they're not doing any of that. They're basically pressing it, aging it, and then setting it off. Typically, Nama, as you guys know, is really fresh, seasonal Nama.
Totally.
This is not that way. This is aged Nama, so it's kind of a bit out of the box, a bit different. This is aged for 2 years before it is even sold, which in the Nama world is kind of unheard of. And this guy, Okusan, that runs Akishika, he has an entire warehouse just of Nama that is aging. So he'll age it until it's ready, and then he'll ship it. Wow. So this one is actually 2013, Japanese right there. So released in 2013, or made in 2000. So it is a vintage? Yes. Wow. So made in 2013, aged for 2 years, and then it was released last year.
That is completely out of the box for anybody that's watching us all over the world, in Denmark or Japan even. It is a little out of the way on the way of traditional sake. I mean, it's crazy. And I remember having the same reaction when we tasted it about a month ago, but it's to do something like this that goes against the grain, to have a vintage sake. But Nama, I mean, I grab all this flavor and richness, and I mean, you can go either way as far as pairings with this. It is bam, right?
And you can keep aging this. I know a lot of Nama, not only is it released young, but you should drink it quickly.
Yeah.
Not the case with this one. You can actually age it in the bottle. You can open it, age it in your fridge, and it'll change. It will deepen. It'll become richer. It is it's a lot of fun to be able to do that with a Nama.
Totally.
You guys like it? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think that's very smooth.
Yep.
No, pretty amazing style. And if you guys are ready to move on, and I always forget to put a spit cup.
No spit cup necessary here.
Yeah. There you go.
And this guy, actually, one more thing about him, he is, it's kind of like the similar concept like chateaus in France, where you have the brewery owner and the president being the same person. So he is literally controlling every grain of rice that goes into his sake from the time it is planted to the time that he makes his sake. So it's pretty unusual.
Very interesting. How much does he produce? Does he have a pretty good amount?
Oh, I can't give you a figure. I wouldn't know off the top of my head, but it's small. Relatively speaking, it's small.
And tell us the prefecture again.
So technically it is Osaka, but when people think of Osaka, it's a big city. It's just basically the outskirts of Osaka, in between Osaka and Kyoto.
Beautiful.
Little village called Nose.
Nose.
So second one, pass it on out there.
Wow. This one has a little more of a pumpkin seed quality to it, a little more sunflower.
This is another funky one. This one is also, it's aged for 1 year. This is from a brewery called Kidoizumi. Kidoizumi is in Chiba Prefecture, so if you go east of Tokyo, around the Tokyo Bay and head out toward the ocean, little village called Isumi in Chiba Prefecture, and these guys have invented a method of sake making called hot yamahai. So you're familiar with the yamahai method of making a yeast starter, where you basically let the rice and the koji in the water sit for a couple weeks to develop its own natural lactic bacteria. They invented a method where they do it at a much higher temperature than anyone else. So higher temperature, more bacteria, more funk. So truly a really funky, interesting sake. And as far as I know, they're the only ones in Japan doing it in this method. And this is also a Morimoto Namagenshu called Fragrant Jewel. And the thing I like about this one is you get that really bright melon up front.
Totally.
And then on the back you get those more traditional Yamahai style flavors of, cocoa and mushroom and almond. And
this one definitely has a pop of vibrancy in the middle. And the other one's serious. It's like the older warrior that's just ready to go to work.
Yep.
This one has a little more of a bubbly attitude. It's fun.
And I really like the fact that with this one, you get so many different layers of flavor from the front to the middle to the back, and it just kind of keeps going and going. I think a lot of that is due to the fact that they're not diluting it, so having it at 18% ABV, bigger, bolder, richer, very low SMV, so they're retaining a lot of those sugars, but high acidity, which dries it out a little bit, makes it not so cloying. So
absolutely,
a bit richer.
Wow. Yeast they use? Is there a difference between the two?
So this, I believe Akishika uses a ambient yeast. This is a house cultured number 7. Okay. So really similar to the number 7 you'll see in a lot of sakes. It's a pretty common yeast style, but this is their own number 7 yeast that they've propagated. Really interesting, funky brewery, and I think a lot of brewers in Japan now are making the trek out to Chiba to see them, to learn the skill of making hot Yamahai, but it's a very difficult skill to master. So I think that's why they're one of the only ones that's still doing it. So
the only way I would relate this is like the Abe Schooner Scullion project out of the sake world. This guy's like out of the box and trying new things, or Matthew Rorick from Forlorn Hope or somebody like that.
Yep.
Pretty exciting style. Totally. And this is something that it won't be shy if you're doing a barbecue at home, or you're burgers with bacon and blue cheese. It's not gonna get overpowered like a Daiginjo from Niigata would, right?
No, and I think that the really delicate Niigata sakes and really katakuchi dry, simple style sakes, they can get overwhelmed by a lot of food, and a lot of times with food pairings, the sake kind of stays out of the way. These are a bit more assertive and can do some nice interplay with richer foods, fattier foods, pork belly, things like that. So
totally. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about on this one. Is there aging involved as well? You said.
So this is aged for 1 year.
1 year,
which again, I mean, aging at all for a Nama is pretty rare, but aged for 1 year, and they typically age their sakes a bit. Actually, when I was there, we were tasting vintages going all the way back to the late 70s, which is kind of crazy.
That is the next level.
Yeah, I mean.
So does it get like a Madeira or like an oxidized?
Oh yeah. I mean, it looks exactly like Madeira. It looks like it's dark, raisiny color. It's super cool.
Almond skins and
exactly. And you get a lot of those same qualities, and it's really cool to go in there and just pick up a sake from your birth year and obviously you can do that all the time in the wine world, but
do that in the sake world. That's very exciting. Yeah, you guys should take note about that and look about looking into their. Tell us the name again for everybody that didn't write it down.
The brewery is called Kidoizumi. The brand is called Haku Gyoko, and the screen name, the pet name is called Fragrant Jewel.
Okay, awesome.
I found, I'm sure you noticed the same thing, that with sake it's nice to have an English name that you can
absolutely
kind of latch onto. So
yeah, a lot of breweries more and more doing that, aiming towards the market. Hence, when you go to the store, Bevmo or your local Safeway or not, you'll see like brands like the Snow Maiden and things like that, right? That relate to what you're tasting.
Definitely helps the consumer for sure.
Totally.
Hello Kitty. Not everyone's geeks like us, so
No. But we have a long way to go. At least myself on sake names, Japanese names, and all that. But pretty exciting.
Very.
And then the third.
All right. So the third. Let's give this a little shake. So this is also a Morimoto Namagenshu, not aged. This is from a brewery called Uehara, and this is kind of right smack dab in the middle of Japan in Shiga Prefecture. And as I said, also Morimoto Namagenshu, but this is what's called an Usu Nigori. So if you're very familiar, most people are familiar with Nigori, the roughly pressed, cloudy type of sake. Usu Nigori basically just means thin, so a very thin, light cloudy, not that, I don't know if you can see that, not the super thick, viscous style Nigori. They're just very lightly pressing this, retaining a little bit of that sediment. give it a little different texture and feel.
Totally. And this one is pasteurized.
No,
No, also Nama.
also not,
Yes.
but not aged.
Okay.
Well, maybe rested for 4 to 6 months, but not the same way that these are mature.
Yeah. This is exciting because usually the negoris you see out there in the regular mom and pop's place are going to be really cloudy and a little sweetness to it, almost like it could be like a strawberry custard or whatnot.
Yep.
But this is something else.
I kind of describe this one as a candied mushroom.
Totally.
You get
Candy
that really,
cap, yeah.
Exactly. So you get that, really kind of sweet candy thing going on, wrapped around a nice, healthy umami, and really, really interesting for nigori. And I think a lot of people would make the mistake classifying this exclusively as a nigori, whereas I think it kind of fits a little bit more into the nama, funky, unusual
absolutely.
category. So,
Wow. What would be your favorite pairing for this, baby?
so this one, smoked duck. I actually did with this one, which is a lot of fun. Also done this one with a couple of different kinds of cheeses. Brie style, camembert style cheeses was a lot of fun. Yeah, I mean, I think that underlying umami in the sake, actually in most of these sakes, that lends itself to some pretty cool pairings and
Totally.
yeah, it's a fun sake.
Yeah, there's like a little licorice in there. Like,
Yep.
So you want like gamey stuff driven. That's what I like lamb and goat and duck and
Just like I think you'd match the weight in delicate Niigata style sake with more delicate food. I think you do that with umami and acidity in sake. You want to go for something a little bit more acidic, bigger, fuller, richer. You can do this with really light, clean sashimi, but to me, you want something with a little bit more character, a little bit more fat, and a little bit more flavor to it for sure.
wow. And you'd say, are these styles mostly concentrating around Tokyo and Osaka, or are they spread all throughout Japan?
They're all over. I think the style of specializing in Nama or Muroka Nama Genshu, I think, is most breweries will do that style a little bit. Everyone can do it, but there are a handful of brewers spread out who specialize in it and really take a lot of pride in making really funky, unusual styles of sake. And this importer pulls that style of sake from all over Japan, so it's not really restricted to one area. Yeah.
You have a question from the live audience, and they're asking the prices of these.
Awesome. Price-wise.
Prices. So, are we talking retail or are we talking? Well, okay.
Let's say retail.
Let's say retail. Okay, so retail, the smaller size bottles, these come in 500 mLs. They'll retail for $35.99, roughly ish. In a restaurant, maybe $12 a glass. But yeah, I mean, typically you don't see retailers selling the big bottles, but yeah, I think for this style of sake, it's not cheap, but certainly more in the premium category.
And to
Premium price, for
reiterate
sure.
something we've talked about before in the show, and we talked about last time.
Yep.
You get about a 1.8 if you're lucky to find it at the store, and you open it, and it'll last like 3 weeks, a month. You've done it, what, 6 months in the fridge, you said?
I have bottles of sake in my fridge that have been open for years, and they taste great.
Wow. So don't be shy. It's not
No.
like wine. You don't suffer through that oxidation period or vinegar.
There's a life cycle to sake, and it's always kind of changing. It's not like wine where it'll just sort of fall off and just be done. It'll kind of go like this.
Yeah.
And depending on where you get it, it'll be somewhere along that curve. And if you have a sake that's been in your fridge for a while and it doesn't taste great, put it back in and leave it and come back to it in 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
there's a lot of fun
interesting.
stuff you can do with it. So.
Yeah, or then you can make the mistake we've made about a couple months ago where we showed up to a party with the 1.8 and it ended up being just 4 of us and we finished it that night. And that was fun and all until you wake up the next day.
Nothing wrong with finishing all one. Yeah.
We ended up going to a French restaurant and trying it with different French dishes, and it was pretty
How'd that
fun.
work out?
Oh, it was amazing. From oysters to steak, French fries with the black truffle. It was pretty fun.
That's one of the fun things about sake is that you can just cross the boundaries of cuisine. I think a lot of people restricted to Japanese food, but you can cross so many of those boundaries. It's great.
Yeah. Yeah, if I don't recall, I was oh my God, what was it? One of my favorites. Kubota manju.
Kubota, oh yeah, that's so easy drinking that you can have that with
Totally.
anything.
Right in the middle. If you
Yep.
guys ever see Kubota manju,
Yep.
Kubota, that's fun. But I mean, there's plenty of them.
You get a 1.8 of that?
Yes.
Six best bottle.
Oh,
Nice.
You can tell me again. Yeah, it was a special occasion.
Nice.
Let me ask you,
Yeah.
how much of this one, since you oversee the whole country and whatnot, how much do you see retail out of these brands that we're tasting? How
So-
much goes retail towards restaurant?
So, a couple things. Just to clarify, I actually only manage Northern California
Oh,
currently.
there you go.
But
We're taking over the world.
Yeah. one place at a time. Yeah. So these in particular, hardly anywhere retail-wise. These are mostly restaurant-driven sakes. I think places like True Sake in San Francisco,
Yes.
high-end bottle shops. We're getting some good traction with it, but for the most part, high-end restaurants. I mean, this is not something that you'll see, in your corner bodega or Safeway, things like that. I mean, it's definitely they're very, very special, and I think coming to places like this for it's.
And yeah, as you said, I mean, maybe it's a good thing because you don't want somebody who's never tasted sake to walk into this, which is outstanding, but it's like the next level, right? That's why some brands that are like a little easier on the palate is a good gateway drug too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like it's approachable. I think for people that like acidity and like umami, I think it's really approachable. But if you're going in expecting typical sake that you're used to, it definitely is not. So it's a little advanced.
Totally.
Yeah. But
So to recap, I mean, we're tasting a bunch of namas, which means unpasteurized,
Yep.
lively. Just think about just a live product that's just evolving.
Yep.
And I mean, the first one is outstanding because it's 2 years aging. It's a vintage sake. The second one was 1 year aging, and the third one no aging, but slightly nigori, and like you can see like a little cloudiness in there. Nothing wrong with it if you see it at the store and buy it and you say, whoa. No, that's intended to be, and it's fun. It's got the richness.
So yeah,
palate. Awesome.
first three were namas. The last one is not a nama, but very funky in its own
there you
right.
go. Now this is very special. There's only I can name probably 3 sakes that I've ever seen or come across with this style.
Yep.
With
So this is it's called Inimankai. Inimankai is the brand. The brewery's called Mukai, and the pet name for this one is Full Bloom. And this comes from a brewery in Kyoto, not where most of the sake is made in Kyoto, which is kind of within the city of Kyoto. This comes from the northern peninsula up on the Sea of Japan. And the color, if you can see that, it's got a really nice, cool reddish hue to it. Comes from an heirloom strain of red rice that these folks are using. There are other strains of red rice around Japan that some people like Tewatsuro does the sakura sake that comes out red. This particular strain of red rice is totally unique to this part of Kyoto. And Kuniko-san, who's one of the few female toji in Japan, she got the idea from, I believe one of her professors at university to use this strain and make a sake out of it when no one had actually done that before. One of the coolest, most unique sakes you'll find anywhere. To me, I don't know what you get, but I get this really cool like bacon, pork fat, honey ham, beef jerky kind of thing to it.
Beef
Like
jerky,
blue
for sure.
cheese. Really, really funky and unique. It is pasteurized.
iodine,
But it is Genshu, so not diluted. Only 14% alcohol, whereas these being Genshu are 19%, 18, 17% higher alcohol. They're cutting fermentation off a lot earlier with this one, 14%, leaving it undiluted. Super high acidity as well. Most sake, when they measure acidity, it's in the 1.4, 1.5 range. This is 5.4.
Wow.
So this is a
I think the palate is much more approachable and more fun than the nose. I mean, the nose it's aggressive, right?
Yep.
It's like a cowboy, kind of just dirty and rich and leather and iodine and, as you said, pork fat and whatnot. The palate's lively. There's like more strawberry tones. There's like a little vibrancy to it, a little sweetness, probably because the fermentation's cut early.
Yeah, it's like a wild cherry almost. It's
totally.
I call this liquid charcuterie because you get that pork and blue cheese on the nose, and then on the palate, it's almost like those little sour cherries that you'll get on a charcuterie board.
Yes.
So it's like a little charcuterie in a bottle.
I gotta say, our audience today on panel got a real treat because it's not always we get this exciting of sake. I mean, sake is as a whole very exciting, but this is out of the box. So pretty fun stuff.
Yeah.
Wow. Excellent. So, what would you pair this one with? Do you still do like cheeses and stuff like that, or do you?
Definitely cheeses. Blue cheese is phenomenal. Anything funky, stinky, wash rind, things like that. Anything smoked, so smoked fish, smoked trout, smoked meats, I think are great. And again, I think with all these, you kind of want to go a little bit bigger with food, a little bit more rich. But yeah, it's definitely something that can take some acidity, some bold flavors for sure. Yeah, I mean, definitely something unique, and we talked these being unique. I mean, this is completely insane. This one compared to
absolutely. No, I mean the color. I mean, you grab it and pour it in a glass. It's like Bandol, right?
This
Like,
one a little bit more expensive.
over
This one,
there.
the 720 ml, it's about $55-$60 retail, so a little bit more and special. And this one, being pasteurized, you don't need to take as much care with it, refrigeration, things like that, as you do with these.
Yes.
So this one can be stored unrefrigerated.
Do you know the yeast they're using?
It is an ambient yeast. I don't think they list it. So it's in this brewery, it's all wooden rafters and things like that. They're not adding any yeast. It's whatever's
Wow.
up that they're using.
Just going rogue.
Going rogue, man.
Wow. Pretty exciting.
But yeah, it's cool. So it's up on this northern peninsula that runs alongside the Sea of Japan. Basically, you have mountains going right into the ocean. So you have, a little road running alongside the cliff, and you have the mountains and a little house on one side, and then a house on stilts on the other.
Wow.
And this place, it actually has actually all the places in the village have places underneath for the boats to park. And they have a little dock there. And in the summer, you can actually ride your boat up, and they'll load your boat up with sake. And so as far as I know,
Really?
it's the only place in Japan you can take
like
your boat.
a drive-through for boats. And
Exactly.
Keep
and
going.
You just get wasted and go on your way.
Wow. Pretty exciting. Do they can you go there and taste it, or? Or
So
it's
they
just
have,
shop and go
they have a
blind?
little gift shop there, and you can go
Okay.
in and you can buy sakes. I don't know if you can go and taste, but I mean they're so sweet there. They're so nice if you go in, if you can find it. Yeah, I'm sure they'll let you taste a little bit.
That would be exciting.
Yeah.
Wow. This is pretty
Cool,
fun.
huh?
Wow. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Yeah.
Yes.
From the live audience, I'll just hand it to you.
Excellent. Let's see.
Lewis.
For the past decade, sake sales has increasing. Why now, and what is the future? It's in Japanese
So,
translated too.
good translation. So, why now? I would say it's a couple things. I think one, it's what we're getting now. I think we're getting more sakes coming in from Japan. More sakes are being brewed here than what we've had in the past. So, just exposure to things has increased. I think the level of education, of course, has improved. I think that was the second part of that question was, what for the future. I think it's going to kind of continue on that trend. I think with more local microbreweries popping up, people making sake in the U.S., that always lends itself to more consumption. But yeah, the more people taste, the more people drink and
Totally.
and learn and figure out what they like. I think it's these crazy names on the bottles don't make it easy.
Yeah.
But
that's one thing.
But I think the flavors sure do, and I think that the way that the sakes drink by themselves, pair with food, I think can turn anyone into a fan. So I expect it, or I hope it continues. Otherwise, I'm out of a job. So let's keep it going, please.
I think the explosion of Japanese restaurants and Asian restaurants in general, all throughout the country,
Yep.
and hopefully one of the things that we've seen more and more, and we can't emphasize enough, is restaurants other than Asian food carrying sake, and that to me that makes my day. If I go into a French restaurant or the sandwich shop down the street and they have a sake,
Right.
that's just awesome.
Yeah, and I think it's great that places like that are adopting sake more. I mean, personally, I'd like it if the Japanese food industry here and Japanese restaurants did a better job with what they had in terms of knowing better ways to present it. I mean, not everyone is Morimoto. I mean, the way that you guys can educate people and do that is really special, and it'd be really great if other places can kind of get on that train a little bit more. And I think once that happens, it'll be a snowball effect. At that point, I think you'll start to see more traction in the non-Asian world. But the fact that people are starting to adopt that outside of Japanese food is pretty cool.
It's for all of us to carry the flag and be the ambassadors, I guess.
Exactly. We just lead the charge, man.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I'll be live streaming at the end of next month from Japan. I got invited to judge the sake competition in Tokyo.
Nice. Yeah.
So I just agreed today, and I'll be live streaming from there for everybody to share the experience. I am beyond thrilled. I wish you were coming with me to consult.
Do you have someone who's going to be on there with you, or?
I don't know yet anybody that's going, but yeah, I just got the invitation. Very exciting. But thank you, first of all, thank you so much for coming. Thank you, the
pleasure.
panel,
Thanks, guys.
everybody
Thank
that
you.
came over today, and exciting stuff to taste. So,
Awesome.
thank you so much. Until next time.
Until next time. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Cheers.
Bye.
Wow.
Cool, huh?
Yes.